Deep in the brain, you'll find the amygdala. During traumatic or intensely stressful events, very fast brain waves sweep through the brain. These waves affect the electrochemical signals that we see within and around the nerve cells of the amygdala. Traumatic encodings can form in the cell membrane of the neurons in the amygdala. When the brain waves are fast, we're talking gamma waves greater than 100 hertz. Special receptors called AMPA receptors pop up out of the cell membrane and get superglued there. These are meant to stay there indefinitely in case a similar situation comes along in the future. It's a protection mechanism. And this protection goes beyond encoding the threatening content like a gun during a robbery. Your amygdala is actually encoding all the information that's around during that traumatic moment. Maybe it's the smell of hair gel, the hair color, the mask, the black hoodie, your emotional response, cognitions, and other sensory data, beliefs, and more. So even the content that was never in and of itself a threat is now part of a felt sense memory. And these little receptors will stay there indefinitely. And down the line, if I smell the same hair gel, my AMPA receptors will get activated and I'll start to freak out. Or if I see a similar mask, perhaps even blonde hair will strike fear in my whole body. Or a particular sounding voice. Or any black hoodie whatsoever. So often in life, distressing felt sense memories overtake our system as the amygdala's way to help us stay alive. But we know that seeing blonde hair is not logically equal to a life threat. I keep saying that these receptors are superglued there indefinitely, but the good news is that indefinitely means for an unlimited or unspecified period of time. So maybe it's time to unglue these little submarine periscopes. And we know how to. Havening Touch, as the name implies, takes advantage of the healing power of touch. This deceptively simple-looking practice is rooted in neuroscience and came about by accident, a happy accident. Dr. Ron Rudin, who has his MD and his PhD in organic chemistry, set out to research why the touch-based practices like tapping, acupressure, acupuncture, as well as the eye movements in EMDR could all have such profound effects on healing and resilience. His co-researcher was actually his brother, Dr. Stephen Rudin. They did a whole bunch of research and found that the healing was related to the creation of delta waves. And once they discovered that these modalities were based on the creation of delta waves in the brain, their next question was, well, how can we generate the most delta waves? And when they figured out all those spots, they were well on their way to coming up with what is now called Havening Touch. It involves simple touch on specific areas of your skin, face, arms, and hands, as well as eye movements. You might be wondering what a session is like. Well, first note that it's called havening because you are creating a safe haven. Havening Touch provides a safe haven for the memory or distress to get activated, and then we follow special protocols to ultimately unglue the receptors, which then reseed back down into the cell membrane. You'll still remember what happened and you could tell the story, episodic memory, but the felt sense memory has been removed. The emotional charge, body tightness, etc. are gone. And though we activate the memory, we do that to get those AMPA receptors all jazzed up, but then you'll switch to a series of distractions. Why? Because these distractions keep your working memory busy while the healing delta waves get to setting off a chain reaction that will unglue those receptors from the membrane and they will recede down like little periscopes. There will also be check-ins along the way, as well as a debrief at the end. As the saying goes, we end on a high note. Your practitioner will choose a positive protocol at the end. Havening helps us to heal, and it helps us to build resilience and enhance our well-being. To recap, trauma gets encoded in the brain during traumatic and highly stressful events, whereby we have really fast gamma waves sweeping through the brain. This makes the brain hyperplastic. That means easy to change or encode. And that's just what the amygdala does to protect us. We end up with episodic memory, the story we could tell about what happened, and we also end up with a felt sense memory, emotions, beliefs, bodily reactions, and more. The AMPA receptors that get superglued into the nerve cell membranes during those really fast gamma waves could actually get unglued when applying Havening touch and generating healing delta waves. We want to take advantage of delta waves for healing and for increasing our well-being.
Now that you've heard a little bit about Havening, if you'd like an opportunity to try it, always be sure to work with a certified Havening practitioner for best results. More information can be found at havening.org.